Hello and good afternoon friends, welcome to the CC EduSec live lecture. Dear friends, today in this session we would be talking on sustainable development. We would be talking on the origin, concept and evolution of sustainable development, and for this discussion we have once again with us in our studios Professor R.B. Singh. Professor R.B. Singh is from Department of Geography, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. So let's welcome our guest Professor R.B. Singh and let's try to understand the concept, origin and evolution of sustainable development. Hello sir, welcome to the EduSec lecture.
Thank you Geetika ji. Dear viewers, we are going to discuss very important topic today, sustainable development. We will try to understand the conceptual framework, origin, evolution, and then we will try to elaborate it for different, bringing different methods and strategy. First, I would like to start with introducing development. Development means the prosperity of people and places. Development is also encourages improvement in the environmental quality and then the quality together with quality of life. Apart from that, development is the accumulation of human capital and its effective investment towards progress in the economy. Particularly, it is very important to see the shift in development paradigms, 1920s to 40s. Generally, our focus was on economic and cultural progress. During the 40s and 60s, our planning process highlighted more towards economic growth and rural development. Many programs came into existence for improving the quality of environment in rural areas. During 60s and 70s, we focused on several special areas program like tribal development program, desert development program, flood prone areas program. So, I would like to bring this 60 to 70 as a regional development era. Then during the 70s, we highlighted the role of integrated area development, where we tried our best to integrate different sections and different spatial unit. And during 80s, we had participatory development. Many participatory initiatives came into existence, and during the 90s, present era is known as sustainable development. I would like to see how sustainable word came before development, and for that it is very important to see the linkages between environmental policy and developmental strategy. Again, we have to go to the World Commission on Environment and Development, 1987, that is the very high level power committee constituted by the UN Secretary General, and they mention that sustainable development is not a fixed state of harmony, but rather a process of change in which exploitation of resources, the direction of investment, the orientation of technological development and institutional change are made in consistence with future as well as present needs. So, this sustainable development calls for a integrated and all-round efforts towards building an inclusive, sustainable and resilient future of people and planet. To achieve sustainable development, it is crucial to harmonize three key components: economic growth, social inclusiveness and environmental management. I would like to bring before you few definitions, and naturally first I would like to start with our common future, the famous book coming after completion of report on World Commission on Environment and Development. It is very popularly known as Brundtland Commission report. I quote, "Development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs, unquote. So, meaning of sustainability coming from a Latin word sustinere, which means to hold up, to endure. I would like to take a definition and a statement by ex-President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam. I quote, "Sustainable development does not imply absolute limits to growth, and it is not a new name of environmental protection. The concept leads to a unique meaning to development and sets an development which has a combination of parameters including economic status, poverty, education, health, women empowerment, harmony, physical connectivity and environmental aspects," unquote. It is very important and pertinent also to analyze a statement and definition given by very famous Indian scientist Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. I quote, "Sustainable development implies a future in which a standard of life is improved would rise through economic development where local environment and biosphere are protected, and science is mobilized to create new opportunity for human progress." So, what is sustainable development? It is a harmonious integration of a sound and viable economy, responsible and appropriate governance, social inclusiveness and cohesion, and environmental integrity to ensure that development is a life-sustaining process. So, you can see through this diagram how human being, that is a very, very important, and then interacting with environment and development. This has two concepts, concept of needs in particular, the essential needs of the world's people, particularly the poor people, to which adequate priority should be given, and idea of limitation brought by the state of technology and social organization and the environmental ability to meet present and future needs. So, sustainable development promotes the idea of change, that change in the area of society, ecology or environment, economic progresses are all achievable within the limits of our Earth's natural resources. I would like to elaborate this concept in a more elaborative way, and particularly I would like to take examples from United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. And first, my important statement I would like to give about development which seeks to produce sustainable economic growth while ensuring future generation ability to do some by not exceeding the regenerating capacity of the nature. Another important highlight coming from the UNCED, the need to protect diversity of genes, species, ecosystem, including all terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem in nature. Protect the quality of environment, and by bringing the idea of restoration, development, maintenance, conservation of habitat, that is very, very important for human being together with and also for biological species. Management of human, natural and economic resources aims to satisfy the essential needs of harmony with nature. It is also analyzing fulfilling the several conditions like preservation of overall balance, respect for the environment or nature, preventing the exhaustion of human resources, natural resources, reduce production of waste and rationalization of production and energy consumption. This also should be taken into consideration. In order to be sustainable development, must contribute three things: fairness, protection of environment, and economic efficiency. And success of such policy also depends on consumers accepting certain constraints and citizens observing certain requirement, fulfilling commitment regarding transparency, participating in development process. So, SD in agriculture, forestry, I would like to just take example, or fishery, particularly in this primary sector, involves conservation of land, water, plant and animal genetic sources, so that it does not degrade the environment. So, what you are getting from here, integrating different natural elements, Prakrit and Purus, man and nature, form an inseparable part of our life support system. So, for individual and community, sustainable development is a focus on people and society, where the people live, how they define their needs with reference to their own goals and the goal they share as member of the community or a nation. So, automatically we can identify three important elements. First, environment, particularly maintaining the life support system, looking the ecosystem services, and also such as pollution filtering. Social, maintaining community capacity, and so resilience, capacity is also coming from this, for effective participation and bringing equitable treatment of all stakeholders. Economic, maintaining an economic system that provides a non-declining standard of living for this present generation and the future generation. Now you can see the objective of sustainable development given by Barbier in 1987, and you can see the biological system. This includes genetic diversity, resilience, biological productivity, species, ecosystem. Economic system, this includes reducing poverty, capacity enhancing, increasing useful goods and services. Social system focuses on cultural diversity, institutional sustainability, social justice and participation. Now I would like to bring before you pillars of sustainable development identified by United Nations. SD is keeping a perfect balance between economic development, social development and environmental protection. Now you can see here that how sustainability in the center, surrounded by the environment, social condition, economic effectiveness, and then we can bring a combination of social and economic, particularly the equitable justice, combination of environment and economic, we can have viable, then combination of social and environment, bearable environment. All pillars are mutually inclusive and interdependent. I would like to present before you relations between three pillars of sustainable development. Here you can see that among all three pillars, environment had the largest area of influence. Economic pillars had the smallest area of influence, determined by social organization. Both society and economy are subsets of nature, hence its preservation and manage should be utmost priority. Historical evolution of sustainable development. Naturally, better to start with 1972 Stockholm Conference on Human Environment. Also, more than 40 head of state participated, including our ex-Prime Minister Mrs. Gandhi, and that time India argued that how population growth and poverty continues to be the very, very important agenda for environmental management. World Conservation Strategy during the 80s started by IUCN together with WWF, FAO and some other organization. World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987, very popularly known as Brundtland Commission report. Then United Nations Conference on Environment and Development or Rio Earth Summit 1992. UN established a Commission on Sustainable Development. Rio +5, a special session of United Nations General Assembly in 1997. Rio +20 Summit or UN Conference on Sustainable Development in 2012 and finally UN Sustainable Development Goals in 2015 to 30, 17 goals identified by a global community. Here through this diagram I would like to present about the different initiative in more diagrammatically level, like you can see starting with a Stockholm Declaration 1972, then United Nations Convention on Environment and Development 92. Here you can find the Rio Declaration, Agenda 21, Forest Principle, Conservation of Biological Diversity and Framework of Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. Then World Summit on Sustainable Development in 2002, that is very popularly known as Johannesburg Plan of Implementation. And then finally United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, that Future We Want and Sustainable Development Goals. 72 naturally largely focusing, it was a main initiative for creating awareness, environmental concern among the policymakers. 80, the World Conservation Strategy, particularly they prepare a document on conservation and acknowledge its role in development. Observation made by Brundtland report, and I would like to identify the few important points, like living standards that go beyond the basic minimum are sustainable only if consumption standards everywhere have regard to long-term sustainability. So that is why sustainable development incorporate past, present and future. Sustainable development also requires that society must meet human needs by increasing productive potential. Demographic development, that is a very, very important, that should be in harmony with changing production potential. Then role of technology is very crucial in the management and conservation of ecosystem. During the Earth Summit and Agenda 21, particularly most important point here I would like to mention about 27-point Rio Declaration on focusing on different component of environment and development. Agenda 21, that is also the non-binding voluntary implemented action plan for 21st century, focusing on social and economic dimension, conservation and management of resources for development, strengthening the role of major groups and means of implementation. I would like to mention about some other in between, some other initiative, Monterrey Conference on Finance for Development, Doha Ministerial Conference, a comprehensive vision for the future of humanity, and World Summit of Sustainable Development held at Johannesburg from 2 to 2nd. I would like to give little bit background of these all initiative, UN initiative, and in this context I would like to mention about the particularly period 2000 when Millennium Declaration set the global development agenda for 21st century and the 8 Millennium Development Goals were identified. That was the very important beginning point for communicating to decision makers what are the priority areas for fulfilling, so that we can move towards the direction which may be considered as sustainable. 2012, that Rio +20, where 192 world leaders agreed to pursue the necessary step to advance the world towards a more sustainable future. 2015, that was the very defining moment in our United Nations, in history of United Nations, when United Nations General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, including 17 Sustainable Development Targets. Apart from 17 SDG, we have 169 targets. These targets are coming from these, and implementation. And particularly, I would like to quote a very important, point and focus, direction of this whole Rio +20 and SDG. I quote, "The future we want," unquote. 7 critical issues here I would like to identify from the Rio +20. Job, particularly focusing on green jobs; energy, sustainable energy, non-conventional energy sources; city, challenges of city like pollution, congestion, inadequate housing; food, a profound change of global food and agricultural system; water, that is a water scarcity, poor water quality, inadequate sanitation; ocean, very essential for regulator for the climate. It is also regulator of the precipitation; vital gases like oxygen and CO2, regulated by this. They are also important medium for trade and transportation. Then, as you know, disaster is not a phenomenon of the past, and all different parts of the country, including India, face disaster almost every year, one or the another disaster. Around 25 states and more than 85% of the geographical area of our country may be considered as disaster prone areas, where one can see the one or another disaster occur. So, apart from these themes, report of the UN Secretary General High Level Panel on Global Sustainability also suggested about climate change and biodiversity. Careful management of this is essential for global resource, is a key feature of sustainable future. So, dimension of sustainable development: political, economic, institutional, technological, socio-cultural and ecological. When we talk about economy, particularly maintaining productivity, profitability of environment and natural resources. Ecologically, adopting environmental management in our policy, in our decision making and our national policy, even Environmental Protection Act 86 and also the 2006 new environmental policy all incorporated the very substantially environmental component in this process. I would like to mention about the EIA. Then Public Liability Insurance Act, public hearing system. These are some of the important initiatives taken. Ecological, adopting environmental protecting the environment. Then technological, promoting management of waste, residuals, adopting environmental technology, environmental friendly technology. Political, particularly the empowering of the people, empowering women and different weaker section of society. Socio-cultural, where promoting the resource accessibility, property rights. Institutional, improving the governance, institutional capacity to manage sustainable development, that is has become a very important. And so, key actors are economy, concerning the producing goods and services for the people. Polity, concerned with democratic governance and security of human right. And culture, concerned with development of the social and spiritual capacity of human beings. So, these are the very, very important sectors. Even country like India, where we have to strengthen economy, polity through the governance, and then also the cultural development. Integration of economic, social and environmental approaches, I think one can see through this diagram, where innovation is a very important, capital efficiency is very important, job creation, skill enhancement, diversity, human rights. Also, we should give the human right connection to our natural elements, the tree. When one person is not behaving with another person, we consider violation of human right. Why not? If people are not behaving with nature, that should be also considered as a violation of human right. Clean, right on clean air, water and land, safety and health. So, we can see the people, particularly the social sustainability, 3 pillars like peace, social justice. Here one can see the distributional equity, adequate provision of social services. Then after people, the planet, focusing on environmental sustainability. This involves making decision, employing practices, then maintaining essential ecological processes and the life support system. According to DPR's development subject to a set of constraints. Now you can see through this diagram how the state of environment, consumption of renewable resources, economic sustainability, that is a idea of to promote the use of available resources for efficient and responsible way. And here I would like to quote that economic system should be managed as we can live up the dividends of our resources. So, weak versus, finally I will tell about the strong sustainability. Weak sustainability focusing on man-made and natural capital, a strong sustainability focusing on man-made and natural capital with limited substitutability. Each stock must be non-declining separately. I would like to conclude sustainable development is a synthesis of social, economic, institutional and ecological systems that are in place to develop and manage environmental resources and the delivery of environmental services for present and future generations. Thank you. Welcome viewers. I would like to continue our discussion on sustainable development to sustainable development goals. So, we will see the shift towards sustainable development goals. We will try to see the different methods, approaches and a strategy, and I would like to bring before you a few Indian initiatives. First, it is better to examine different challenges of sustainable development. First, linkages between poverty and environment are complex. The number of people in poverty worldwide remains large, and it is the poorest group who suffer the impact of environmental degradation. So, we have a complex issue. In developed country, people are facing the problem due to development, but in developing country, people are facing due to development together with lack of development. Besides, there is unequal sharing of political economic power of the countries. The powerful countries utilize resources unsustainably with the less powerful ones. Then I would like to quote Orty, 1987, suggested the idea of resource curse, which said that there is negative relationship between physical resource utilization and trajectory development in long term. And so there was substantial debate even during the Rio conference about the environmental concern between the rich and the poor country, between those who wish to exploit resources and those who wish to conserve them, and between the developmental needs and current generation and those of the future. So, the term sustainable development has subsequently been redefined so many times and used to cover many aspects of society, environment relationship that there are now doubt on whether anything good can ever be agreed by Mauhine. So, method. Overall goal of sustainable development is a long-term sustainability of the economy and environment. The concept of conserving resources for future generation is one of the major features that distinguish sustainable development policy from the traditional environmental policy. What is to be sustained? The WCED identified three major categories: nature, life support system and community, as well as intermediate category for each such as earth, environment and culture. The concept of sustainable development does imply limits, but these limits very difficult to examine. It is beyond our capacity to examine the all interrelated relationship between technology, social organization. Nature used to bring restriction on our activity, but through technology enhances areas of our freedom. Full cost accounting method that attempts to identify and measure the full range of cost associated with different development projects. And so that is why the social cost analysis, not only the environmental impact assessment, but social impact assessment also has become an important instrument of environmental decision making. Sustainable development theory, new classical approach, is based on the assumption that the capacity of self-regulation of free market and technological advances are able to ensure capacity of substitutions endless between various forms of capital, mitigating so. In solo model, economic development is identified with a level of consumption that does not decreasing over time, and its sustainability takes the form of constraints and the use of resources. Solo mention capital has diminishing marginal productivity, which implies that the per capita consumption remain constant. A material balance model. In this model, the economic system is open and circular, characterized by a set of extraction processes of matter and energy. The new Malthusian theory, even if the population is growing in absolute terms, in many countries the rate of growth is shrinking because people realize the benefit of a small generic family. Sierra Nevada Wealth Index. This regional program was started by a group of businessmen in the eastern Sierra Mountain in California and Nevada. The program emphasizes indicators of financial, natural and social wealth. They propose that any form of development should enhance or improve each of these three types of wealth simultaneously for it to be acceptable. They include indicators such as health of their fish streams, the quality of agricultural land, air quality as indicators of natural assets. Methods of measurement. Particularly, I would like to mention about economic impact analysis. Environmental impact analysis includes local knowledge, experts and group, open space, parks and recreation, acre per capita. This equity of development impact, distribution of economic impact and information on distribution of income, particularly the quality of life. Integrating economy and the environment. What it is known, the ecological economics approach. This approach attempts to integrate the discipline of economics and ecology. This approach tries to look at the economy as an integrated part of the environment instead of a separate entity. It analyzes the full ecological impacts of economic development. Ecological economics attempts to measure the ecological footprint of economy. That is a very, very important concept. Ecological footprint, particularly this model examines carrying capacity of ecosystem. If you will ask me to identify a single measurement of sustainable development, I can tell carrying capacity. But it is very difficult to apply and examine this. We have to start from macro to the micro level. Sustainable output or sustainable gross state product approach. This measures the amount of output or income that an economy could sustain indefinitely based on the available resources. This means the economic progress explicitly accounts for the cost of depleting non-renewable natural resources such as oil. Carrying capacity as a measurement of ecosystem sustainability. That is a very, very important carrying capacity consideration should be applied for measuring sustainable development. This model analyzes biological productivity in an environment is the population size of the species that environment can sustain indefinitely. I think one can see that how many people, how many species can be supported by particular piece of land, particularly taking into consideration of food, habitat, water and other necessity available in the ecosystem. It is possible for a species to exceed its carrying capacity temporarily. Then I would like to mention ecological footprint analysis. It comprises human demand with planet Earth ecological capacity. How many people can be accommodated in an ecosystem? It represents the amount of biological productivity land and sea area needed to regenerate the resources a human population consume and to absorb and render harmless the corresponding waste. Waste is what? Pollution is also the waste. When we do not need anything, we throw in the environment. Environment also provide the essential needs and then raw material for productive process. For 2006, humanity total ecological footprint was estimated at 1.4 planet Earth. In other words, humanity uses ecological services 1.4 times as fast as Earth can regenerate them. Now here you can see 2000 prepared by the Jolie Jenner, and you can see in North America or Australia country-wise ecological footprint, if you will see better position in comparison of the South Asia, because we have a high density of population, also the large part of Africa. So now it came the era of 17 sustainable development goals. They address the most burning global challenges by calling upon collaborative partnership across and between countries to balance 3 dimensions of sustainable development: economic growth, environmental sustainability, and social inclusion. According to Elliott 2006, I would like to mention about the actors and actions of sustainable development that measures towards the global governance and environment have multiple in recent decades. Export of primary commodity remain the central focus of finance and development. Public access to information can be a powerful tool for ensuring business interests which are more accountable to the environment and people. Civil society organizations are now significant agents of development. Now you can see that how these civil society organization in the people, planet, earth, they all are. I would like to give you the one example of energy project in Germany. In Germany, particularly, I would like to mention one important study elaborated by Mr. Ramesh 2014 about the Germany. How Germany is very on forefront of implementing non-conventional energy sources, and they are moving towards the transition Germany is going through. About 30% of the Germany electricity supply comes from solar and wind energy. At present, Germany has around 37,000 megawatts of installed solar energy capacity. They brought a significant revolution in the area of energy use that is a perfect example of sustainable development. Approaches towards sustainable development: multi-level approach, cross-sectoral approach, multi-stakeholder approach, and MAPS, mainstreaming, acceleration, and policy support approach. Sustainable Development Goals is a post-MDG phenomena aimed at universal and equitable human development, balancing and integrating economic, social, and environmental dimension, reflecting the complexity of sustainable development in its multiple dimensions. And so, multi-level approach, it involves coordination and participation at the international, national, and sub-national level to create a comprehensive strategy that is inclusive and integrates climate change and sustainable development policy and planning. Each level offers insights and drives policy and planning development from a different perspective. Therefore, it is essential to consult and engage actors from each of the level. This multi-level approach can be examined through multi-spatial level, from block level or panchayat level, block level, district level. Cross-sectoral approach. Cross-sectoral approach focuses on intersection of customers, suppliers and natural environment. Civil society should use these linkages as an opportunity to think through more holistic cross-sectoral approaches towards poverty alleviation. Multi-stakeholder approach. It aims at facilitating partnership between government and nationally and subnationally active stakeholders. So, multi-stakeholders may be coming from academic, civil society or policy makers. And MAPS, mainstreaming, acceleration and policy support approach. This was adopted in 2015 as a common approach to its support to implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development at country level. The MAPS approach captures the core component of UNDG upstream support to SDG. Mainstreaming work to raise public awareness on 2000 agenda to ensure that principles and goals of sustainable development found in 2030 agenda in an integrated or at national or subnational level. This also should include the budgetary and financial processes. Now you can see this diagram focusing on mainstreaming, MAPS, this acceleration and policy support. And this can be possible by bringing better data. Better data, better management. So that is why information and data continues to be the very, very important challenge. Accountability and partnership development. I would like to bring before you here a carrying capacity of Indian environment. In global terms, India has 16.7% of human population, 15% of farm animal population, 2.5% of the geographical area only. So, you can understand from your own perception type of capacity, carrying capacity issue we have, an ecological footprint in our country. 1% of the global rainfall, 4% of the freshwater resource, supplying 16.7% of global population, 0.5% of the forest land and 0.5% of grazing land. And so, that is why our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji, mentioned about sustainable consumption long back. I would like to quote him, "Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need but not every man's greed," unquote. So we can say that there is enough for the need of every nation but not enough for the greed of even one nation. It must come through self-realization. Sustainable development cannot be achieved unless people should achieve self-realization. The ultimate aim of Gandhiji was not simply to present a condemnation of modern civilization, but to suggest an alternative path, the path which move towards area of development which may be considered as sustainable development. And so that is why you can see our State of Environment Report 1999. I would like to quote from our first environmental policy. I quote, "Sustainable and equitable use of resources for meeting the needs of the present and future generation without causing damage to environment." That was the objective coming from our national environmental policy. to prevent further damage to our life support system, to conserve and nurture the biological diversity, gene pool and other resources for long-term food security. And so, sustainable development in India is a combination of economic development, environmental protection, social reform and people's empowerment. Dear viewers, I would like to analyze few minutes about the different environmental legislations in India, and particularly I would like to start with the first phase 1972-88, how Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess Act of 1977, Forest Conservation Act of 1980, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. Then second page 1984 to 97, Environmental Protection Act 1986 came, Motor Vehicle Act 1988, Hazardous Waste Management Act 1989, Environmental Impact Assessment Notification 1994, National Environmental Tribunal Act 1995, National Environmental Appellate Authority Act 1997, third page 1998 to 2004, where focus was more on ozone pollution rules 2000, ozone depleting substance rule 2000, protection of plant variety and farmers right act 2001, electricity act 2003, then fourth phase 2005 and beyond, right to information very act 2005, forest right act 2006, hazardous waste rule 2008, later on several other initiatives like PM action plan on climate change. Variety of program came in the area of different sector. I would like to mention particularly in agriculture sector, one example I would like to give: National Food Security Mission, Watershed Management Program, National Watershed Development Project for rain-fed area, Command Area Development and Water Management Program, National Project for Repair, Renovation and Restoration of Water Bodies, Kisan Credit Card, Health Card, Kisan Health Card Scheme, Micro Management of Agriculture, Weather-Based Crop Insurance Scheme. Variety of initiative, innovative measures were taken by the government of India in different time. I would like to analyze little bit more in a more specific way, and particularly the current policy and program. Economic key policy and program, particularly the economic policy. New industrial policy 1991, pharmaceutical policy 2002, marketing assistance scheme of small medium enterprises, export promotion capital goods scheme, national mineral policy of 2008, national telecom policy 2011, national electricity policy 2005. I would like to mention a very important initiative taken under the initiative of our Honorable PM, a Startup India, a Stand Up India, a Skill India, Make in India, Act East policy, East policy, Neighbor First policy, cashless economy like a digital India. These are some of the important steps. On social sectors, I would like to mention about the key policies and program. And in this context, I would like to mention about in last budget, currently our government is very much interested for promoting the housing for low income people, housing for poor people. Pradhan Mantri Sarak Yojana, Gramoday Yojana, National Policy for Empowerment of Women, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, another very important step taken by the the government started in 2003, National Policy for Urban Street Vendors 2004, National Rural Health Mission 2005, National Food Security Mission of 2007, Debt Waiver and Debt Relief Scheme, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Skill Development Program, Stand Up, Startup, Atal Pension Yojana, lot of insurance on the insurance sector also, health insurance, many initiatives taken in the area, many incentives. It is very important for us to bring incentives and disincentive, and so that is why these all are being implemented. Particularly environmental key policies and program, I would like to mention about National Forestry Action Program, National Afforestation Program, National Mission for Green India. This is also the part of the Prime Minister mission, National Forest Policy, Clean Ganga Initiative, and Swachh Bharat. These are the very important initiatives taken. Social equity, rural infrastructure, Annapurna scheme, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, pension schemes, many pension schemes also brought by central government in last 2-3 years for social, providing the social safety net to the people, particularly the poor people. Social ecological, national agricultural policy, urban sanitation policy, integrated watershed management. In green economy, particularly the fodder and feed development, integrated energy policy, sustainable development taking into consideration of combined, like a Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. It provides a lot of social safety net, National Action Plan on Climate Change, National Disaster Management Policy, Rural Livelihood Mission. These are the very important. In this context, I would like to mention that we have to utilize the youth population of our country. Every third person in Indian city is a youth. And so, we have a vast population, 253 million in 2001 to 430 million in 2011. Current predictions suggest that a steady increase in the youth population, 464 million by 2021. And so, I think UNCED also, I would like to quote the UNCED, youth from all parts of the world participate actively in the all relevant level of decision making process, approaching towards the sustainable development. Education is a very, very important, and I would like to quote Mahatma Gandhi ji, our father of the nation: education for life, education through life, education throughout life. And finally, I would like to conclude that science for sustainable development is a very, very important to bring the transdisciplinarity and participatory approaches. Science policy interface is need of the hour. Policy relevant analysis is very, very important. Platform for sustainable development is a need of the hour. Through the dialogue, our women groups and several stakeholders can be identified so that they can do a community relevant analysis. Thank you very much.
With this note, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for delivering a vivacious session on sustainable development. And dear friends, we would like to have a feedback from you for the lecture which was delivered today. Either write to us at info.cc@nic.in, or once the lecture is uploaded on YouTube, then after watching the lecture on YouTube, there only you can also write your comments. So dear friends, we would be meeting again soon. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.